So I came by the farm to check things out, and I had a feeling. I was very worried this was going to happen. You can see right where the excavator bucket was and where the soil disturbance was. Pretty much all of that loose soil got washed out to the other side. That's unfortunate. I'm going to have to do something here. Maybe try to find some stone or something, but definitely don't want this to get worse. I did throw down some seed, which you may have seen in one of my previous videos, but it's pretty tough to hold the dirt when the first rainfall you get is a super heavy downpour. If we had gotten a light rain before this heavy downpour, maybe it would have had a chance, but it very likely germinated from that heavy downpour. All right, let me go check the other side. Well, I guess on the bright side, the dirt didn't go very far. You can see it there. You can see there's a lot of silt that ran, but the land kind of levels off right around here, so it didn't go very far. And I have all of this green to really kind of hold things down. I do wonder what the inside of the pipe looks like, though. Hopefully it's not super wet. Oh, it's soft. Let me see if I can straddle this. Sorry to shake the camera, guys. Oh boy. So that's not great, but again, like I said, the dirt's not going anywhere. It's still here. It's just a lot of it's stuck in the culvert now. I'm just gonna have to find some rocks, maybe some riprap, put some weed screen down. There's definitely things I can do to deal with the next big heavy rain. We're getting to that point right now where it's just not warm enough. The sun's not warm enough to dry the soil. The ground's gonna get soft. Every time it rains, it just gets softer and softer. So we'll figure it out. That's what we do. Overall, I'd say the damage from this rain, not too bad. There's a little bit over here where the disturbed soil kind of ran over the driveway. So we're definitely going to get some of that because a lot of this has been flattened out, which is great. It really slowed the water down, but right about here, this part of the driveway leading up to the garage, it starts sloping back downhill again. And so it's pretty easy, especially with all of these lumps of the rough grade, for some of this loose soil to just wash over the driveway. You can see how bad it got caught over here. That's really bad. This is obviously where the water came out strong. Wow. I'm seeing this for the first time, just like you guys. You can see all the grit, the fines running all through here. But again, it didn't go too far. Kind of stopped right about there, right before that sandy shelf I've mentioned to you guys before in a previous video. It kind of hit just before that, but all of this grass and weeds and different cover crops and things that I've been putting here to build that root mat, it's helping. It's making a difference for sure. But yeah, this is pretty bad. We'll have to fix this. Add it to the list, I guess. You know, while I'm here, maybe I should give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes of what's going on here. I made a whole video. I spent a long time putting the video together, and I even uploaded it, but I never published it. I watched it multiple times over and over and over again. Just something didn't feel right about the video. And the truth is, it didn't feel like me in that video. I try to be positive as often as possible. I'm a bit of a realist. You know, when times are bad, I recognize that they are bad. And when times are good, I celebrate them. When things don't go right, I'm a bit of a fixer. I don't often sit and feel sorry for myself. I think, how do I fix this? And so I guess I just wasn't in the right headspace at the time that I was recording that video. And so, yeah, I never published it because it didn't feel like me. But there were some things in that video that I feel are still important to talk about. And it is relevant to some of the problems that we're having today. You know, we've got washout down at the culvert. We've got some loose soil washing over the driveway. We've got bald spots all over the farm that just refuse to grow anything, right? And these are all just tiny little problems. They're not big things, but it feels like death by 1,000 cuts sometimes, right? And then on top of that, one of the next big things that I've really wanted to do for the farm was to have a garage here, just to have some storage, maybe a place to work, maybe do some build projects, and start putting in at least some temporary infrastructure for things that I would like to have out here. We don't have any buildings. The only thing we have is some stakes in the ground. And so we're really starting with nothing out here. The driveway was probably the first big piece of infrastructure that was put in outside of just clearing the land and that kind of stuff. It's a lot of that kind of stuff that takes up a lot of my brain power, right? Just trying to think of a lot of ways to fix these little problems. And anyways, I was feeling kind of sorry for myself because the next big project really is going to be trying to put that garage in. But, you know, in talking to our builder, what can I say? You know, champagne taste, beer budget. Is that how that saying goes? But, you know, you start big. You just put all your wish list stuff in there and you say, this is what I want. And then the architect comes back with it and you're just kind of like, oof, that looks bigger than I thought. Even though we literally gave them the measurements. And then it gets priced out through the builder. And then the builder comes back and you're like, ouch. Sorry, it's windy out here, guys. Then the builder comes back and then you're thinking, ouch, right? Like that's pricey. And then you start making compromises. And you start cutting this and then cutting that. And right now we're at a point where the only way to save any money on it is to just start cutting. But I think it's important not to let that stuff really wear down on you. And it's easier said than done, you know. Whenever you're talking about money and infrastructure and lifelong decisions on where to put buildings, because they're not easy to move, on allocating space for septic systems and utility lines to get run and where easements should be and wells, and then running into hurdles like just the cost to build in 2023 is not great. It isn't great, and interest rates are high, and the cost of materials has not really come down ever since, you know, the big boom in prices that have happened over the last few years. And honestly, there's a labor shortage in building, which is also driving up the prices. And even if lumber's coming down to a reasonable number other things keep climbing, like steel or concrete or whatever. And so it's kind of a losing game trying to wait for the cheapest price on stuff. And it's not easy. It really isn't easy to just figure out exactly what you want, where you want it, and then when you want to pull the trigger on all of that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of stressors involved, but you really got to take it in stride. And honestly, okay, so here's the crazy thing. Where all of this really kicked off, it's not just the stressors of the farm. Like, I knew that going into all of this. The biggest stressor for me kind of kicked off looking at my channel. And so this is a tangent. I hope I'm not going to go off. I've been talking for too long already, but you know, my channel, I like to do an update, the progress of my channel in terms of how well it's doing, or typically how well it's not doing, every 6 months or so. Just a health check on the YouTube channel. And the truth is, like, that's what really got me in a bad mood. Because the channel never does very good, and I try so hard. The content that I publish, I do a lot of editing. Every minute that you see of YouTube video, YouTube content, is probably like an hour of my time between recording, voiceovers, editing, audio mastering, color mastering. I do a lot of stuff that probably does not need to be done, but I do it because I care about at least raising it to a level of quality that I am capable of producing. Now, just because I put all that time into it doesn't mean that it's great or that it's better than someone else, because there are people who do this for a living. They have to produce content in order to earn a paycheck, and that is not where I am. But I would still like to maintain a level of quality that is at least in the same ballpark as anyone who is doing this professionally. And I try very hard to do that. And so putting in the amount of effort that I do, and then the channel just, oh man, you don't even know. I take a 10-minute video. Obviously, it takes me like 10 hours to produce this thing. And I get like 10 views, if I'm lucky. Knife in the heart, you know? So, yeah, that put me in kind of a bad mood. And I've always said that this channel has been an outlet for me, not just creative outlet, but I had always hoped that this channel would grow and I'd feel good about posting a video, because I would know that like thousands of people would watch this video and maybe they'll learn something. Maybe someone else is going through the same experiences that I am, or maybe someone else is thinking about buying a property, or they're interested in building a chicken coop, or they want to know how to, stain their fence or whatever. Like, I have all kinds of build and DIY projects and soil and land management type videos. I've got videos on gardening, videos about the farm, just this wide array of things that are happening in my life. And I feel like, man, if there's just those people out there who are going through the same thing or thinking about going through the same thing, here's a guy who's sharing his experiences. And I had hoped that I'd feel good about that, but it's hard to feel good about it when you go through all that effort and you put all that work into it and nobody watches it. That is painful. So it's a lot for me to think about, but again, I'm not here to complain. I'm just here to tell you what the state of the channel is, what the state of the farm is, and how things are going on the homestead. and the expenses and the problems and things that are arising from buying land and trying to build infrastructure on that land. And I hope that if you're trying to do the same thing, I hope that maybe you'll subscribe and maybe you'll pick up a few things from this channel and others like mine. I really do hope that you guys are getting something out of this, because that's why I do it. I guess I'll leave it there. I got a few other things I need to do around the property, but as always, you guys, be good. I'll see you on the next one, all right? 77 feet on this side.